Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the open meeting for Thursday, September 21st. There is a song written about that date, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. No, I'm not going to sing.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the minutes of the open meeting of Thursday, September 14th, 2023, and each has informed me there's no need to discuss the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of September 14th, 2023.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the agenda, and each has informed me there's no need to discuss the notices associated with agenda items 2 through 8. The suggested minute associated with agenda item 11, agreeing to dismiss the proceeding by joint execution of a consent agreement between the Commission and Lake Lawn Resort, and accepting the proposed consent agreement as drafted, which assesses a forfeiture against Lake Lawn Resort of $5,550 on the condition that it does not cause or contribute to any delay of WEGO's work to dissolve Lake Lawn's master meter system by December 31st, 2023. Or alternatively, pay $555,000 and have its gas supply shut off. Lake Lawn shall submit monthly reports to track the dissolution of its master meter system. Or the suggested minute associated with agenda item 12, agreeing to dismiss the proceeding by joint execution of a consent agreement between the Commission and Grand Geneva Resort and Spa, and accepting the proposed consent agreement as drafted, which assesses a forfeiture against Grand Geneva of $13,000 on the condition that it does not cause or contribute to any delay of WEGO's work to dissolve Grand Geneva's master meter system by December 1st or December 31st, 2023. Or alternatively, pay $1,300,000 on January 1st, 2024, with gas supply being shut off on February 1st, 2024. Grand Geneva shall submit monthly reports to track the dissolution of its master meter system.
I move we approve the notices of investigation associated with agenda items 2 through 8.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In docket 9300 GI 104, I move we agree to dismiss the proceeding by joint execution of a consent agreement between the Commission and Lake Lawn Resort, consistent with the Secretary's description.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And in docket 9300 GI 107, I move we agree to dismiss the proceeding by joint execution of a consent agreement between the Commission and Grand Geneva Resort and Spa, consistent with the Secretary's description.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that brings us to agenda item 9, which is docket 6360-CC-240810. So this is a complaint that was filed by an attorney, Mr. Rick Steinberg, on behalf of his client, Mr. Singh. And Mr. Singh was charged $14,514.55 by West Dallas Municipal Water Utility for water and sewer service from April through June of 2022. Mr. Steinberg claimed that the business tied to the billed account had been closed. And further, he states that even if the business had been operating based on the account's historical quarterly water readings, the complainant felt that the billed amount should have been considerably less. So this particular customer complaint, there are a couple of missteps in the order of operation, at least when I read it, because of when the request for formal review was filed. But to boil it down at the highest level, there were 3 different accounts that Mr. Singh had with West Dallas Municipal Water Utility. There was a store, there was a laundromat, and then it was his place of business, the office itself. When he received the bill, and the original bill was much larger than he had traditionally seen, he contacted the utility. And upon inspection in April of 2022, an inspector from the utility discovered that there was a burst pipe. Then in May of 2023, Mr. Singh's lawyer received a letter from the Public Service Commission indicating that based upon review of the information, the consumption on one of the meters was indicative of a leak. Fast forward, there appears to be a lot of miscommunication or misunderstanding, and there may or may not be a language barrier at play here. But Mr. Singh didn't pay the amount of the April through June consumption, and he didn't pay the subsequent bill, which then led to the arrearage amount being placed on the tax roll. And that is really what the municipal water utilities utilize as sort of their last and final effort to recoup money, is they put it on the tax roll. Once that dollar amount gets put on the tax roll, our jurisdiction ends, and we don't have an ability to then go and make changes to the tax roll. I think that there is no question that there was a burst pipe. The West Allis representative brought forth this additional information, but not until May of this year. And that was when it was reported that the utility inspector had visited the location the prior year in 2022 and found that, quote, the laundromat side of the property was completely flooded due to a burst pipe, okay? Now, it is common for West Allis to offer leak credits. So the way it works is if you are a customer, and this is allowed for in state statute, if you're a customer and there is abnormally high consumption, and then subsequently it is found that you have a burst pipe or there is a leak that's contributing to that amount of consumption, the utility has the ability to offer a leak credit. Now, once you're made aware that there's a leak, then the responsibility is on you, and you're not allowed you don't qualify for credits after that fact. I read and reread again the information in this complaint, and it became abundantly clear to me that people were talking past each other, and there was a general misunderstanding of the leak credit itself. I understand that we don't have jurisdiction over the tax roll. That part is clear, and it, to me, is unambiguous. What is not clear to me is why the information about the burst pipe sat undiscovered for such a long time, which in effect led to Mr. Singh essentially being penalized. So in this particular case, I'm creating my own alternative, and I would come up with an alternative 3, which is direct staff to work with Mr. Singh and the utility regarding a leak credit. If the parties are unable to reach a resolution, then I would require this complaint to proceed directly to a hearing. And I understand that nothing can be done about the tax roll, but certainly something can be done as it relates to the water utility bill. And based on some of the interactions reported between the utility representative and the customer, I would have loved to have seen this be handled differently and in a more professional manner. So I've come up with my own. Commissioner Huebner?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, and I think, I'm not sure what to do, and as you said, there's nothing we can do about the tax roll process, and it is unfortunate because once you move to tax roll, there's like an automatic 10% penalty. So when the bill is that high, the 10% penalty is also high. So, but I support your alternative, and that's basically where I was at coming in as well, is that staff working with the parties related to the leak credit. But if that can't be resolved, then I do think we should have a review and go to hearing. So
Okay.
I'll join you.
Great, thanks. Commissioner Strand?
Yep, I can support your alternative. I think having our staff involved should hopefully, even though they've been involved for a while, help the talking past each other. And I would hope that that message would be clearly sent to the parties, that the purpose of giving this another shot is to come to a resolution and do that at this point. But yes, I can support your alternative 3. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Do we make a motion then? Yep. Okay, in docket 6360 CC 2408110, I would direct staff to work with the parties, and if a resolution can't be reached, proceed to hearing consistent with our discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to our last item on today's agenda. It's agenda item 10, docket 5-GI-120. What we have in front of us are 4 waiver requests related to meter testing requirements in the administrative code. The administrative code provisions, specifically 134, were promulgated, feels like yesterday. They were promulgated in 1908, and the last substantial update was done in 1989. And so as we see a lot, when industry moves at a pace that is quick or quicker than statute, we are left with some provisions that can be no longer applicable or open to interpretation because of how long it's been since they've been updated. But specifically, this is a request from multiple utilities: Wisconsin Power and Light, Madison Gas and Electric, Northern States Power, Superior Water, Light and Power, Wisconsin Electric Power Company, and Wisconsin Gas, as well as Wisconsin Public Service Commission. And so I'm going to try my best to stay out of the weeds because this is hyper-technical, but at a very high level, the applicants request a waiver to modify inspection and testing intervals that are found in the admin code, and to allow turbine and rotary meters to be inspected and tested during the calendar year in which the testing deadline falls, rather than a certain month. The applicants are also requesting that a waiver, which was granted by the commission on December 8th of 2000, be modified to eliminate the requirement that no less than 25% of the failed family of meters be removed in each of the 4 subsequent years. And they further propose modifying the requirement instead to remove the failed family of meters during the subsequent 4 years. Next, they are requesting that a different waiver in the order from December 8th, 2000, be modified to eliminate a requirement that all meters subject to statistical meter testing be removed and tested after they have been in service for 300 consecutive months. And instead, they're requesting that those statistical meter testing results dictate when those meters should be removed. And finally, the applicants are requesting that we allow them to file comprehensive natural gas meter testing plans to establish testing requirements and testing cadence for all meter types, including meters that are not addressed in the current code, specifically testing standards for ultrasonic meters, both for residential and large multipath ultrasonic meters. So as I indicated, in 2000, all but Superior Water, Light and Power, all the applicants but that company received a waiver of testing requirements for diaphragm meters. And there's a handy chart on page 6 of our memo that shows the code, what the testing requirements are, and who is currently exempt. So there's really only one provision that the applicants are currently exempt, and again, that excludes Superior Water, Light, and Power. So the first decision in front of us relates to rotary and turbine testing intervals. So the applicants claim that a waiver of this provision would allow for additional flexibility as well as address supply chain issues. Importantly, we received a number of comments in this docket, and staff did a really excellent job of very thorough analysis and a very clearly written memo for material, as I said at the beginning, is very hyper-technical. So importantly, the commenters and staff found no technical or potential safety concerns with this particular request. They did recommend that the testing interval be at least once each calendar year, not to exceed 15 months. So putting that 15 months in there as kind of a bookend. And because of that, I'm at alternative 2, which incorporates staff's recommendations on page 9 of our memo. Commissioner Hebner.
Yep, I'm in the same spot on this one. It does seem that there was support from every entity I think we heard from was okay with this flexibility, and as you said, it didn't implicate a safety issue. But I do think that staff's bookend is helpful at this time, so I would be at alternative 2.
Okay. Commissioner Strand.
I'm at alternative 2 as well, thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, the second decision relates to specifically the failed family of meters and asking to reopen that 2000, the year 2000 order, as it relates to that 300-month test requirement. So for this particular request, I think it came through, at least to me, loud and clear that we don't have enough information at this time. And more importantly, what occurred to me were the potential safety issues that were identified. So I think as it relates to this one, my sort of middle of the road approach would be to request comments and additional information. So I want to hear more from the commenters. I also want to hear more from the applicants about why this is necessary. It was a little short on details, at least for me to feel comfortable approving this request. So I would request comments from everybody and additional information. Then I would actually bring it back to us. So we had an option put in front of us that was sort of an opt-out. The way that I thought of it was an opt-out provision, and I don't feel comfortable with that. I actually would like to see what comes in, and then I would like us to have a discussion about it. So again, I'm kind of making up my own alternatives, but it's really a modified Alt 1 where I'm asking specifically from commenters that we've heard from and the applicants to come forward with more reasons, and then I would like this particular provision, provided we get clarification on the other issues, to come back to us.
If I could just offer maybe a friendly modification to that, what Alt 1 really was intended was reopening the individual orders, and it sounds like you're not at a point right now that you're ready to consider changes. So instead of actually going through that procedural process, I think you would indicate we would continue to use this docket kind of as our working docket for all of these, as opposed to then going through the mechanics and reopening for 5 separate orders. So we would issue, assuming your colleagues agree, an order requesting comments in this docket and get those comments and then return this to you. And in fact, I don't know that we need a formal order. We could probably do it in the form of a data request or something a little less formal, if that would be all right with you.
Yes, and now I'm looking at my notes, and it says new Alt 3. So yes, I agree. Okay, Commissioner Hebner.
Yeah, I'm in the same spot. And just maybe to help guide the discussion of comments, the questions that I had were, the way it's set up now with the waiver is you've got to do 25% per year at least. The request would essentially allow on paper, I know the utility said this wasn't the intent, but on paper it would allow 0, 0, 0, and then 100% in the 4th year. So I would be interested in hearing what's a percentage that would give some more flexibility. I mean, we can come up with one, but there's nothing in our record here to say is 20%, 15%. So I would like to understand kind of what level of flexibility would be needed there. The second thing that was really raised, and it's in our memo on page 12, is that right now, safety inspections for other components, the service regulators and associated safety devices, that's written in PSC 135.744, but the way that reads is specifically that the test interval shall be the same as the interval between meter changes in the meter rotation program under PSC 134. So it piggybacks on this. So if we're changing this or waiving this, 135 is not automatically updating. And that clearly came through in the comments, was a concern about the safety. So I do think those two issues, kind of how to address the safety inspections in 135 on a regular cadence, be 25 years or whatever would be appropriate. With that said, before we jump on, I do understand the utility's perspective that if you've got a family of meters and every time you pull one, it tests wonderful, and you just keep working through your statistical sample and that family is really doing well, to sort of pull 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 meters that it looks like it's working well, and to just automatically have to pull them out, that does seem a little wasteful. So I think we're trying to strike a balance here of ensuring safety for the customer, but if those pieces of equipment are working, we don't want to prematurely pull them out either. So I'm in the same spot. Those items, I think, are what I would like to hear with the reply comments. So.
Great, okay, thanks. Commissioner Strand?
Yep, I can support the proposed alternative as well, the alternative. I think it would be helpful to have more substantive information from the parties, including now that they've kind of laid their cards on the table and can respond to not only the applicant, but also then the comments that we received. And I also think since they've been operating under this order for 23 years, that it would be helpful, to your point, to have some more historical data about what they found when they have tested and removed families. So I'm in support of, I guess it would be alternative 3 then. Thank you.
Okay. Our third decision is about meter testing plans and specifically ultrasonic meters. For this one, there's not enough information, and just to jump ahead and preview, I'm going to vote to draft a statement of scope for a limited scope rulemaking for the gas meter testing sections. I think that the meter testing plans can be taken up in that. If we go down this path and we allow for this group of utilities to come up with their own testing plan, then it's going to be different from the code, and it's going to be different from other gas suppliers, and I don't think that helps anything. So I think because it has been such a long time since this code has been looked at or updated, I think the time, as demonstrated by the information that we have received in this docket, I think the time is now. So I would deny their request to allow them to file these plans, and I would have that be done via limited scope rulemaking. Commissioner Huebner, so I'm at alt 2.
Okay, yep. I'm definitely going to be at alt 1, as you said. I think it's time for, I'm sorry, on the last item.
Yeah, for the
I'll be at
rulemaking.
alternative 1 related to a limited scope rulemaking, because I think it's time for that. I can join you at alt 2. The other approach I was thinking, if we did alt 1, was just to bound it and have a sunset date that, you could start this and maybe have a 3-year process, but I would be adopting all of the additional options if we went that way, so that staff would be working with them, so.
Okay.
But I'm fine with just making it in rulemaking, then it applies to all the utilities.
Right, yep,
So,
okay.
Commissioner Strand.
Yep. My biggest concern is not the inconsistency across the industry, so I'm in support of this limited scope rulemaking, and I'm fine with alternative 2 for the ultrasonic item.
Okay,
I'll join you there then.
all right.
Okay. Consistent with our discussion is fine. In docket 5 GI 120, I move that the commission draft an order consistent with our discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that concludes our official business for today. Our next open meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 28th, 2023, at 10:30 a.m.
Move we stand adjourned until Thursday, September 28th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.